Welcome back to the Future Archive. Today, we examine archive broadcasts from August 14, 2026, a day when tech giants repurposed user content, climate goals clashed with industry, and buried treasure literally resurfaced. We'll also see how Silicon Valley's love of manifestos competed with its love of power, and how quickly progress could be undone. 5 stories, 1 question: what were we thinking? The first story. Amazon trains AI on Twitch streams without explicit consent. In August 2026, Amazon began using content from its live streaming platform Twitch to train its generative AI models. Twitch, acquired by Amazon in 2014, hosted millions of hours of user-generated videos, gaming, conversations, and creative content. Amazon accessed this library to fine-tune its AI, leveraging the natural, unscripted speech and interactions as high-quality training data. The move was revealed when users noticed an opt-out feature buried in Twitch's settings, sparking outrage. Critics argued that streamers and viewers had never consented to their data being used for AI development. Amazon defended the practice, stating it complied with its terms of service. This moment crystallized a defining tension of the 2020s, the collision between user trust and corporate data hunger. By 2050, we know this was not an anomaly but a turning point. User-generated content became the most valuable resource on Earth, and consent was often retrofitted rather than requested. Amazon's quiet deployment, evidence later suggested an intern clicked something, revealed how platforms treated user data as corporate assets. The great subsidization had begun, though few noticed at the time. Consent was optional. Growth was not. The second story. EV sales targets softened after automaker lobbying. In mid-2026, governments in Europe and North America considered scaling back ambitious electric vehicle mandates, following intense lobbying from car manufacturers. These targets, set to accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels, had been established in response to climate commitments. Automakers argued that supply chain constraints, battery material shortages, and consumer hesitation made the original goals unrealistic. The Financial Times reported that officials were weighing extensions or reductions to the 2030 and 2035 phase-out deadlines for internal combustion engines. Environmental groups warned that weakening these policies would delay critical emissions reductions. Here we see humanity's favorite strategy in action, postponing problems until they become someone else's. The irony was rich. An industry built on innovation resisted change when it threatened short-term profits. By 2050, historians note that the EV transition did accelerate, but only after climate disasters made delay more costly than action. Mistakes were made primarily by spreadsheet. The future was electric. The present was reluctant. The third story. Tech leaders publish AI manifestos with grand visions and vague warnings. Throughout 2026, Silicon Valley executives continued a peculiar tradition, releasing public manifestos about artificial intelligence. These documents, often thousands of words long, blended utopian visions of AI solving humanity's greatest challenges with dire warnings about existential risks. Elon Musk, Sundar Pichai, and others published their own versions, each framing AI as both salvation and threat. Critics argued these manifestos were less about clarity and more about shaping public perception, deflecting regulation, and positioning their companies as thought leaders. The Verge noted that while the language was grand, the actionable details were sparse. Manifestos have long been humanity's way of signaling virtue, while avoiding accountability. In 2026, they served another purpose: distraction. The AI safety committees formed in response were largely ceremonial. By 2050, we know that the real roadmap was being written not in words but in code, and in the incentives that shaped it. The last human meeting about AI ethics could have been an email. Words were plentiful. Safeguards were not. The fourth story. Belgian builders discover €9 million in gold hidden in walls. In August 2026, construction workers renovating a property in the Belgian town of Namur made an extraordinary discovery: gold coins and bars worth an estimated €9 million hidden within the walls. The find, believed to have been concealed decades earlier, sparked a legal dispute over ownership. The property's current owner, the previous owner, and the construction firm all laid claim. Belgian law at the time stated that treasure found on private property belonged to the landowner, but exceptions existed for items of historical significance. Authorities temporarily seized the gold, while courts determined its fate. Even in an age of digital wealth, the allure of physical treasure endured. This story was a reminder that some things never change: greed, luck, and the human habit of hiding valuables in walls. By 2050, the case had been resolved, though the gold's origin remained a mystery. A small footnote in economic history, but a large one in the annals of unexpected windfalls. Some investments mature. Others just wait behind drywall. The fifth story. Afghan women describe life under 5 years of Taliban rule. 5 years after the Taliban retook control of Afghanistan in August 2021, the BBC published interviews with Afghan women detailing the erosion of their rights and freedoms. Since the Taliban's return, women had been systematically excluded from public life. Girls were barred from secondary education, women were forbidden from working in most professions, and strict dress codes were enforced. The women described a society where basic mobility, healthcare, and legal protections had been revoked. One interviewee, a former teacher, said, "It's as if we've been erased." The report underscored how quickly decades of progress could be undone. This was not a story about technology or economics, but about the fragility of human rights. By 2050, Afghanistan's trajectory remained a cautionary tale about the speed of regression when institutions fail. The international community's response in 2026 was largely rhetorical. Humanity, it seemed, was excellent at expressing outrage and slower at preventing its causes. The Great Spreadsheet Crisis would later claim many such failures as its own. Progress is not permanent. Neglect is. Today's stories reveal a world in 2026 caught between innovation and inertia, between hidden wealth and hidden costs. We trained AI on trust, softened climate goals for comfort, and wrote manifestos instead of guardrails. Some things, like golden walls, never change. Others, like rights and freedoms, must be fought for anew each generation. This has been the Future Archive. The past, as always, is not going anywhere.